morning, everybody. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? We got a lot of familiar faces here in the chat. We got Fibs, we got Pinsanity, we got KMD, we got CWE. Who else we got in here? We got a few other people in here. How we doing, everybody? Hello, hello. And my goodness, I know we're a baseball channel over here, but we got Raw on Netflix. I mean, I got it on the TV right now. I had to rewind it a little bit, so I'm probably some other people. But we got Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa right now. My goodness. Yes, I am quite the wrestling fan. And yeah, it's pretty neat to see wrestling on Netflix, for crying out loud. I've been watching this stuff for years, man. It's just crazy, man. It's not on cable TV. Anyway, hello, welcome to tonight's show. We're not going to be here too long tonight. We're just going to kind of run through a few stories. It's quiet right now. It's quiet. Over the last week or so, we've had, Christmas break, right? For a lot of us out there, New Year's, obviously. And this is a bit of a slow time of the off season. Front offices usually, this is kind of a vacation time for them. They are starting to come back into the offices this week. So I do think we're going to, as we can see here, we're already seeing a couple of moves here today. The Reds acquiring Gavin Lux. That came out of nowhere, right? We've gotten some Nolan Arenado news I'm going to dive into a little bit here tonight. I'm going to go live on Fenway Faithful. I'm going to dive more into the Nolan Arenado stuff. I'll touch on it here just to give you all an idea of what's going on there. We got a little bit of Luis Arraez in the news as well. But again, I think we're, it's the beginning of the week, slowly starting to pick up here as we move along into the week. But everyone, again, hope you're having a great day. And let's get into it here. Let's get into it. And do I have the right date today? The other day, I put 2 1s. It said 11 there. So it was like we were in November. I was going back in time, or I was going into the future. I had the right year, but I had the wrong month. I did a bit of a typo. So we're good to go on that front. Here we go. We had a trade today. Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux heading. Oh, The Rock is coming out. My goodness, The Rock is coming out against Roman Reigns. What is going on over here? But Gavin Lux heading to the Reds. This one threw me off because we were seeing some rumors about the Mariners, the Yankees. I was thinking, man, the Mariners got to make a play here, right? I mean, would Gavin Lux be the best option out there? I think you could probably do better. But what do I know? Who knows, what's actually going on behind the curtains, right? But Gavin Lux could have been a decent option for the Mariners. He would have plugged in at second base. And actually, he is projected to be the third baseman as of right now. And that was my main reaction to this whole thing, right? Because they already have so many infielders, right? You got Matt McClain, who did miss a lot of time this past year, projected for second base. Obviously, Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop. But Gavin Lux, you're looking at him being a second baseman or maybe a third baseman, more second base at this point, right? Jamer Candelario is at first. You got a lot of guys here, right? So as of right now, Gavin Lux is projected to be the third baseman. So I wonder if there's going to be another move here, right? You got Noelvi Marte. Remember, he missed a lot of time getting suspended for PEDs. And, I feel like he could be the odd man out here unless, they feel like he could develop some more. Remember, this guy made his major league debut not too long ago. I feel like there's going to be another move here for the Reds. I just feel like you got a lot of guys looking for playing time. You already had a lot of guys. And now you got Gavin Lux in the fold, right? So as for Gavin Lux, taking a look at the numbers this past year, nothing amazing by any means, but, at least you got something out of Lux, right? Obviously the Dodgers winning the World Series, it ended up being a decent piece for them. Had a 1.5 F-WAR, which is definitely short of, what is going? Rob Bratt, Chris Martin turned down more lucrative offer from the Red Sox to go to the Rangers. Oh, the Red Sox are trying to bring back Chris Martin. Man, finally we got a report that the Red Sox, they bid the most money for someone, but they decided to go elsewhere. Wow, we finally got something like that with the Red Sox. But anyway, moving on. Gavin Lux. Obviously he was a former top prospect. A 1.5 F-WAR is not what you would like out of Gavin Lux. But at this point, with the way his career has gone, missing all of 2023, he put up some decent numbers back in 22 over 129 games. He had a 113 WRC plus, had a 346 on base. So, maybe somewhere else he can get his career a bit more on track here. Again, not a terrible season by any means. Had a league average 100 WRC plus. Let's see if maybe he could, pick it up a little bit more in Cincinnati. I do think Cincinnati, if they're healthy this coming year, I think they will be a team that ends up being pretty decent. I'm expecting a lot out of them. You got a lot of talented players on this roster. They brought in Brady Singer here to beef up the rotation. I wonder if there could be more moves towards this rotation. I wonder if someone like Nick Pivetta could end up being an addition here. Maybe someone else on the market. Maybe a cheaper option. We'll see. But I like the way this Reds team is going right now. Is Gavin Lux the best move? No, but it makes me think some other moves could be on the horizon. And again, getting back to Noelvi Marte, I've come up with a couple of mock trades where I've looked at maybe someone like Marte who could be a piece that you could send back in maybe a Luis Robert deal. Could that end up happening, right? Could you add a bit more firepower to this lineup? I would love Luis Robert on the Reds. I think that makes a lot of sense. We got a super chat coming in from Sean Krucka, $5. Thank you, my friend. As a Reds fan, I don't really understand this move. Yeah, I'm still a little weird on it. I agree with you there. All offseason has been get a right-handed hitting outfielder and trade for a left-handed hitting or for a left-handed infielder. Well, at least you got the left-handed infielder, right, with Gavin Lux. So you did get that. I feel like there's another move coming, right? You got some assets now. The Reds got a lot to play with. I think you're going to see another signing at some point. I think you will see a trade. Now, who could you end up trading, right? If you're looking at some guys here that are on the Reds that have some trade value, right? Again, even getting back to Marte, right? He has, that's not the Reds. He's kind of fallen off a little bit, but, someone that still has some value, right? So if you're looking at maybe some guys you could end up moving, I don't know. I feel like the Reds don't move Nick Lodolo. I feel like you end up keeping him. He's got a few years left to control, has some pretty decent value. I don't think they'll move him. I think he'll end up staying put, right? Could you maybe see someone like TJ Friedl get moved, right? Very good, a couple of years ago, but had some injuries last year. I wonder if a team out there would be willing to take a chance on him to bank on getting back to some numbers a couple of years ago. Someone like Christian Encarnacion Strand, maybe a team looking for a bat that has a lot of control. Maybe someone like him could end up getting moved. Again, getting back to Marte, has a lot of control left, former top prospect. He seems to be out of the picture right now with the Reds, unless you just want to keep him as depth in case someone goes down. Maybe that could happen here. Just a few guys that, if you're looking at guys with some value, I think there will be another move, I believe, for the Reds. At least I would think so, right? Because I feel like with the Reds, you could still add a more beef here, and that's why I get to Luis Robert, someone that's on a team-friendly deal. I think he could make some sense. I think they do need a little bit more power in this lineup for sure. We'll see. But Sean, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I don't think the Reds are done at this point. Moving on here. Of course, I had the wrong button highlighted. My goodness. We're not even talking about... I'm a mess tonight, everybody. I'm a mess. I'm always a mess, right? Let me get rid of that. Here. Hold on one second there. There we go. Let's get rid of that one. All right. Moving on. Let's talk about Nolan Arenado. All right. Oh, actually, hold on. From the Dodgers' point of view, sorry, I'm a mess, everybody. Ha-Seong Kim, right? Again, it might be a little surprising from the Reds' point of view, but not surprising from the Dodgers' point of view, right? Ha-Seong Kim, they just brought him in. I thought he was going to go to the Mariners. I thought he was going to go, maybe even the Angels could step up and get him. Kind of a surprise. They ended up going to the Dodgers. And when they signed him, I'm thinking, man, are you really signing him to be a bench guy at this point? I even said on the other stream a couple nights ago, he seems like a very luxurious bench piece, right? Like a super utility kind of a guy. Can move around the infield, can play some outfield. So this makes a lot of sense where he is looking like he's going to be your second baseman moving forward. I did even see someone put up the possibility where if you still had Kim be on your bench, you could move Tommy Edman to second base or short, however you did it, and then you could still go after a center fielder like Luis Robert. I believe Ha-Seong Kim is going to be the starter moving forward, unless they do see him as a super utility guy, you know? But we'll see. I did see some ideas out there. But in the end, hey, for the Reds, you know, I guess, you know, it's okay. But what it tells me more is there will be more moves ahead for the Reds. I don't think the Reds are done. So moving on here, let's talk about Nolan Arenado. Here. Now, you know, Arenado's been on the trade block this offseason. And again, I'm not going to dive too deep into this one. I am going to talk about it on Fenway Faithful right after this show. But with Arenado, he's been on the trade block. The Cardinals are looking to cut some payroll. And the one team that seems to be emerging are the Red Sox, right? You know, you saw a little earlier in the offseason, maybe the Dodgers could be a team that emerges for him. You know, the Angels popped up on his list of preferred teams, but then people are thinking, well, what happens with Anthony Rendon? That seems a bit weird. You got some other teams that popped up. Maybe the Mets could have been a fit. And then the Yankees, they ended up getting Paul Goldschmidt, who's a close friend of Arenado and has been a teammate of Arenado. So people thought, okay, maybe Arenado could be on the Yankees. There was a rumor that possibly, you know, maybe you could do a swap of Marcus Stroman for Arenado, but that got turned down because obviously the Cardinals are looking to cut payroll. Why would they want to take back Marcus Stroman at this point? So, you know, I still think the Yankees could be a possibility. We'll just wait and see on that. But it seems like the Red Sox are emerging here as a team. All right. I see you in the chat. Truman Quinn, Mets don't want him. I think I say wait and see how things play out with Alonso. If Alonso ends up going elsewhere, I wonder if Mark Vientos goes to first, and then that could open up the possibility of Arenado maybe being an option. I don't know. Maybe. He was on their list. We'll see what the Mets actually do there. But the Red Sox, according to John Denton, he covers the Cardinals on MLB.com. And also, we had some reports from Cardinals Live on Twitter, who was getting ragged on a lot over the last week or so because, you know, he's been putting out some stuff out there. And people are like, oh, this guy's got fake sources or whatever. He's just putting stuff out there. But then everything was getting confirmed last night by Chris Cotillo, Sean McAdam of Mass Live. And even, people still don't want to believe. It's so weird, man. You know, I don't know. People just don't want to believe anything. I don't get it. But then even John Denton came out and confirmed it himself, saying that Arenado would approve a trade to Boston. I was told that almost 3 weeks ago. I don't know if I think I said it on here, not even on Fenway Faithful. I think I said it here almost a few weeks ago that I was told Arenado would approve a trade to Boston. And then it came to light yesterday from big-time reporters like Chris Cotillo, Sean McAdams. So I'm just saying I was ahead of everyone by about 3 weeks. Not trying to toot my horn, but I tried telling all of you. I will never tell you something unless I fully trust it. So that's basically my point of bringing that up. So it says here, the Red Sox have emerged as a strong candidate to land Arenado via a trade from the Cardinals. Boston could be close to pulling out of the sweepstakes for Alex Bregman, which could potentially command a deal worth $200 million. Well, that's a lot of cash for Alex Bregman. I do wonder if he's going to get that, really. I don't know. I'm not sold that Bregman's going to get $200 million. There's a lot that you could dive into here when it comes to, because I think this is all connected. You know, could this be leverage? You know, could the Red Sox be trying to do the JD Martinez approach where they see Bregman and they're thinking, yeah, we don't think your market's really all that big, right? Yes, the Tigers have been involved. The Mets have poked around a little bit. But it seems like really, at this point, for Alex Bregman, it seems like it's the Red Sox or the Tigers. You know, maybe the Mets could jump in. Maybe they could do something here. Look, everybody, John Cena is here. John Cena's here. My goodness. Sorry, it's a baseball show. But yeah, I think this is all connected, right? Maybe the Red Sox could be using this as leverage. Maybe they're telling Scott Boras, yeah, you know, well, we don't really like what's going on with the Bregman money, the years that he wants. I don't know. This is what we want to do. If you're willing to come down a little bit, we can talk. But we're maybe looking at Nolan Arenado here, right? We might be maybe pivoting. Could that be the case here? Could it be just leverage at this point? Robo Buck and Zane, you're right. You're right. I can't see. Is John Cena actually here on the screen? My goodness, right? I love when John Cena comes back. It's always a different color scheme. I always love that. He's got some nifty, stylish new shirts coming out, it looks like. So, love that. He's got the blue, the white, a little bit of red. John Cena, always looking like a bowl of Fruity Pebbles. But yeah, I think this is all connected, right? Could this be leverage? Who knows? But it looks like the Red Sox could be turning towards Arenado at this point. Now, he goes on to say here, this is where it got Red Sox fans real grumpy, right? It goes on to say about Tristan Casas. However, a Cardinals-Red Sox swap would be contingent on St. Louis swallowing a sizable chunk of the money still owed to the Red Sox, or still owed to the third baseman, right? But we got reports that when Arenado turned down the Astros deal, that they were going to give $15 million, 5 years for each of the next 3 seasons. So I think you would see the same thing here, or at least something around that range. This is where it got real grumpy for Red Sox fans, right? And also Boston dealing first baseman Tristan Casas for value. Now, you all know me. I'm gonna tread carefully here because I know I'm gonna make someone mad, right? I know I'm gonna make someone mad. Listen, I like Tristan Casas. I like the bat. There's a lot of upside there. There's definitely power there. Go back a couple of years ago, 2023, had 24 home runs over 132 games, had a 490 on the slugging, a 130 WRC plus. Very good numbers. However, you all know me. You know I'm a nerd when it comes to the numbers. I try to think in terms of front office, right? It's not how I see it when it comes to, playing MLB The Show or whatever. I try to look at it from as much as I can. I've never been in a front office. I don't know, but I know that front offices, they like to look at wins instead of players. That's how I look at it. I try to look at value at the end of the day. Why would the Red Sox be wanting to trade Tristan Casas? Well, I think they look at Casas as, yes, exactly what Craig Breslow's been saying, a potential 30 to 40 home run middle of the order bat. He's saying he doesn't know where this is coming from. They're not shopping him. That's GM speak, okay? That's general manager speak. How many times, it's like crazy that I see Red Sox fans get grumpy over this. Oh, he's saying that he's not trading him. What do you mean? This is a lie. That's not true. You know what I mean? But GMs say that kind of stuff all the time. General managers will always say things. Always. How many times over the years have we seen a general manager say, no, we're not trading this guy? And then he ends up getting moved the very next day. It's literally happened before. GMs will talk like that all the time to posture and to create leverage. That's what happens, right? So from the Red Sox point of view, for them, the people that work in that front office, they probably think Rafi could handle first base. They probably think that. And then with Casas, if they bring in Arenado, well, then Casas becomes expendable. He has value, right? He has good trade value, right? As of right now, you're looking at around a $30 million median value. And that is on the low end because he has been hurt, but that's still a good amount. You could absolutely bring in a pretty decent package for Casas. Now, I'm not saying Casas is, trading him is my preferred option, but if it were to happen, I could see where this team is still looking pretty decent. You'd have Arenado at third base, and we really got to cut it out with the whole, the bat's regressing. It's like, listen, we gotta remember. I feel like I say this all the time. It's not just about offense; it's about defense as well. These guys, they go up to the plate, they go take their swings, and they go out into the field the next half inning. Run prevention is just as important as runs scored. Why do you think so many people always want to focus on run differential, but when it comes to talking about Nolan Arenado, people only focus on the bat and they don't talk about the defense, but then they go talk about run differential. Well, he prevents runs. He, right now, this past year, yeah, he helped very much when it came to the runs allowed department. Pitchers would love to have Nolan Arenado behind him. Are you kidding me? I mean, my goodness. I'm just saying, with Arenado, I think he'd be a perfect fit at Fenway Park. I think his bat would come alive there. I see a lot of Mike Lowell in him. A pull guy at Fenway Park with the monster. I think you would see 25 home runs from Arenado at Fenway Park. He also made some adjustments mechanically in the second half this year. He was hitting the ball harder in the second half. You can just go look at the numbers, right? He looked, reading what Cardinals fans had to say about Arenado in the second half. Yes, I'm guilty. I did not watch every Cardinals game in the second half. Sorry. But from what I've read is that Arenado made some adjustments mechanically. He was doing a bit better in the second half. Give him an off season to get things really dialed in. New environment. New coaches, maybe he ends up being a pretty solid offensive player. But again, getting back to the argument where, I see Red Sox fans, it's just this one take over and over and over and over again. He's old. He's a regressing bat. First off, he's 33. He's going to be 34 at the start of the year. That's not old. Adrian Beltre was putting up ridiculous numbers at 37 years old? I mean, for crying out loud. And I don't know what it's like. I see it just all the time. And it's sorry, but it just gets old seeing that take over and over again. It's yeah, I'm not saying Arenado is going to be what he was. What was it? 2 years ago, 3 years ago when he had that amazing season. I know there has been some regression there, but I don't think, you have there is a player there, right? There is, I think, still a good player. Is he going to be what he was in his prime? No, he's not, but I still think there's a good player, right? And at the very least, he's going to give you defense. And I see, people all the time. I see some of the accounts of the other podcasts out there that talk about the Red Sox. Oh, Arenado in this lineup. Where it's okay, yeah, these numbers in the lineup, maybe not that great, but put him at Fenway Park, take him out of Busch Stadium, put him at Fenway half a year. I think he ends up being pretty good. Is he going to be, I would rather have the bat of Tristan Casas, and also I'll show you one more thing. Tristan Casas is projected for a 2.5 FWAR this coming year. Arenado currently is projected for a 3.0. And that's at Busch Stadium for half a year. Put him at Fenway Park, I guarantee that bumps up a little bit to somewhere around 3.5. I think Arenado, if you put him at Fenway, gets a good amount of doubles, gets some balls over the monster. I think he ends up hitting around 25 home runs, maybe even a little bit more. I think he ends up being a very good player in Boston. Teams don't acquire players. They acquire wins. Yes, I know that's a line from Moneyball. That is true. Yes. But that's the truth. That's what teams look for. They look for wins. They look for defense and offense. Yes. And Arenado, I think his offense is going to be fine. Now, Tristan Casas, right? But again, I think it also comes down to what would be the return for Casas? What is the return? I think you would bring back some pretty good pieces. I think you'd probably, at the very least, you get a high leverage reliever, someone that's under control, someone like Andres Munoz from the Mariners. Even if it's not someone like that, I think you could get a pretty good pitching prospect in return. Someone like Bubba Chandler on the Pirates. We got to stop looking at it in terms of, I see one account out there, I'm not going to name it. He says we're going to be so much worse if we add Nolan Arenado. Good grief. It's no, we wouldn't. Yeah, maybe the offense takes a bit of a hit, but I think the Red Sox also look at the fact they're probably banking on Trevor Story being healthy for a full season. They're probably banking on Yoshida being healthy for a full season. I think they're looking at, ways to improve the team in other little areas, right? They've already beefed up the pitching staff. They've beefed up the bullpen a little bit. They could probably make another move, right? I'm just saying. Even Jim Bowden today, he put this today. The Red Sox are the clear front runners for Tanner Scott. Who knows? I don't know. Jim Bowden, take it with a grain of salt, but it is what it is. To me, I think it's so overblown. I think people, they look at this like, oh, he's a regressing bat. He's old. No, stop it. It's like, yeah, would I rather keep Casas? Yes. And that's another aspect of it too. People always say this too. Why don't you just trade Yoshida, put Rafi at DH? Well, yeah, that would be the preferred option. Is there a team out there for Yoshida? Are they going to want to take on his contract? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it because the Mariners didn't even want to take him. The Mariners didn't even want Tristan Casas and Yoshida together. So if the Mariners don't want him, well, then who's going to want him? I'm just saying, man. Like, you're not going to be able to trade Yoshida, I think. I don't think any team is maybe as things unfold a little bit more, maybe a team could emerge. And no, you're not DFAing Masataka Yoshida. He's owed over $50 million. There's still a valuable player there. I don't think you're going to DFA him. It just seems silly. I just think that, Red Sox fans all the time talk about, oh, if you trade Yoshida, if you move him now, well, now that's going to affect, what players from Japan think moving forward. Well, so you want to DFA him? I mean, you trading him, if you want to go that route, yeah, trading him would look not great, I guess, even though it was a different regime that signed him. But DFAing him would look even worse. It's like the same people that bring up how it would affect the future of Japanese players. Okay, go ahead and DFA him then. Let's see how that one looks. So it's like, it's just, I don't know, man. Like we got to start wrapping our heads a little bit around everything. It's not about the player. It's about the wins that they're going to bring to the table. Tristan Casas, sure, he could absolutely be a guy that hits 30 bombs for you in the middle of the order, but it's not about the player. It's about the wins. First base is a low value position. Rafael Devers with the bad defense, they probably think, okay, his defense is pretty bad at third base. Let's put him at first base. And whatever, it's like first base, it's kind of one of those positions where unless you're Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, those kind of guys, could Casas end up being that? Maybe, right? But if you're looking to improve the team now, then, and he can bring back some good pieces for you, and you can just have Rafi as your first baseman. I'd rather have him at DH, but if he ends up just being your first baseman, then okay. You need to improve the infield defense if you're the Red Sox. Simply put. No arguing that. The Red Sox are one of the worst defensive teams in baseball last year. It's not just about the offense. It's not just about the slash line. It's about the defense as well. Run prevention is almost as important, just as important as runs scored. The pitching staff, all of it comes into play, right? Okay, that's enough. I feel like I've rambled enough here, but I will just talk quickly here. If Casas were to be a guy that you could end up trading, right? Some possible ideas, right? If you're looking for guys that could maybe lead a package, right? Well, if I'm looking at some guys, a couple that jump off the page to me that might make some sense. I've already mentioned Andres Munoz. That's a guy who's under 4 more years of control. He's 26 years old, one of the best closers in the game. I think that could make some sense. If you're looking at maybe Kyle Harrison on the Giants, if the Giants go out there and sign Jack Flaherty or bring in another pitcher or whoever it may be, maybe, I think the Giants could use a bit of an upgrade with the power, put Casas in the middle of that order. That's pretty good. Maybe Kyle Harrison could be a young starting pitcher that you could get back. If I'm looking a little further here, maybe you could do, I don't know. I don't think you would do Dylan Cease for a year. Braxton Garrett, if he was healthy, I could see that maybe, but at this point, I don't think the Red Sox want pitching. Reed Detmers, I think he's just too lost lately. I don't think that works. I don't know, man. I mean, there's options, and these are only just guys that are very close in value. Now, Carlos Correa could be an option. The Twins, they are looking to unload payroll. But if the goal is to get Arenado, I don't know where Correa fits into that mix. I mean, I guess what you could do, this would be crazy, but if you ended up trading for Arenado and then you send Casas to the Twins for Carlos Correa, he could be your shortstop. Trevor Story moves over to second base. I don't know. I don't know if that's a possibility. But anyway, in the end, we'll see what ends up happening here. I think people are like jumping off of a cliff about trading Tristan Casas. And I think really at the end of the day, I don't think it's I would like to keep him, but I don't think it's the end of the world if he ends up getting moved. I think you should keep him if you can. But if it ends up happening, I just wait and see what else happens, right? If you got Arenado to be your third baseman, Rafi's your first baseman, Casas ends up bringing back something pretty good, maybe bringing another guy or two out there on the market, and then it looks like you could have a pretty good team moving forward. I don't know. We'll see. Again, you got to let things play out. We can all sit here and speculate and get grumpy, but it is what it is. Anyway, moving on. I'm sorry, everybody. I feel like I spent so long on that. Let's talk about the Yankees. Luis Arraez. Well, now that Gavin Lux has gone to the Reds, remember the Yankees were showing some interest in Gavin Lux, but now that Lux is on the Reds, maybe the Yankees could turn their attention to Luis Arraez, right? You could still use someone else in this infield, right? As of right now, I mean, you got Jazz at second base, right? But I think right now the Yankees, they probably need to focus on third base. That's kind of the way I'm seeing it. So, even before, I don't know, like Gavin Lux, my guess is that they were looking at him to play third base. So I don't know where Luis Arraez, maybe Luis Arraez came up in the first baseman conversation before they brought in Paul Goldschmidt. Maybe that was a possibility there. But now, I mean, they brought in Paul Goldschmidt, so I don't see where Luis Arraez would even fit. So John Heyman's saying that New York isn't really a fit for the Yankees anymore. So my guess is the Yankees were looking at Gavin Lux for third base. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that was because I don't know, man. Unless Jazz, they play him at third, right? And then you could put Luis Arraez at second. I don't know. The Luis Arraez idea always felt just a little weird to me with the Yankees. Maybe you could have done it before Paul Goldschmidt. But really, the only way Arraez would work right now would Jazz at third base, and then and I don't think Arraez can play third. I don't know about that, but yeah, I don't expect Arraez to go anywhere. But could this maybe open up something for the Mariners? All right, maybe, possibly. I mean, I'm not sure. He would be the second baseman. I think for the Mariners, right, they could use a contact guy like this, someone that kind of gets the ball rolling a little bit. They could use a guy that gets some hits, gets on base. I think he'd be a pretty decent fit for the Mariners. We'll see. As of right now, Ryan Bliss is projected to be at second base. I don't know, man. The Mariners, they need to start making some moves. If it were me, man, I don't know. Like, they still have Luis Castillo. Could they move him? Sure, there's still time. You could do it. But Luis Castillo at this point, I mean, you got to think he's got the big contract, team, maybe another team could emerge like the Giants. I feel like they could still add something there. All right. We'll see. Maybe the Cubs for Castillo. I don't know, but I just feel like at this point, there's really, I don't know, at least as of right now, I feel like there's not a huge market for Castillo. I thought the Orioles could have been an option, but then they go ahead and sign Charlie Morton, this past weekend. So I don't know if that's going to happen now. I thought the Orioles could be a pretty decent fit. I think the Tigers, they haven't really been connected at all, but I wonder if they could emerge. I feel like they could use someone in that rotation behind Tarek Skubal, right? I think you just need a guy to go along with him. They got some depth, but I don't know if they're going to be able to go 2 years in a row running that same kind of just wacky pitching staff. I feel like the Mariners can end up being the Tigers can end up being a decent fit. And depending on what happens with Alex Bregman, maybe Jace Young could be an option for the Mariners, right? Second, third base, right? You could play either. They could use a good impact bat like Young, right? I mean, yes, he still has something to prove, but that's a guy I think has a good upside with his bat, good on base guy. I think that could be a decent get for the Mariners. So we'll see. But everyone, I'm going to wrap it up right there. Again, I didn't want to go too long here tonight. Again, the big story, Gavin Lux going to the Reds. We'll see what happens with Arenado. I know I rambled on about that. I'm going to be going live at Fenway Faithful in just a little bit. Go over there if you would like to hear more about the Nolan Arenado stuff. There's a couple other Red Sox news to talk about as well. But everyone, thank you for coming out tonight. Again, just a quick show, really, not a whole lot to chew into. There is the Padres story. I know that's out there. I want to wait on a bit more of the details. I want to actually read about that lawsuit a little bit more, right? That's getting a little funky. All right, just touching on that really quick. Peter Seidler's widow filed a lawsuit against the brothers for control, right? So kind of just reading this really quick. Again, I'm going to kind of read more into this, but the Peter Seidler Trust released a statement on Monday evening. It calls Sheil Seidler's complaint entirely without merit. The trust claims that Peter Seidler had a clear estate plan, which names 3 of his brothers as successor trustees. The trust alleges that Peter Seidler prohibited his wife from ever becoming trustee, that Sheil Seidler agreed in 2020 that she had no right to be or to designate the franchise's control person. So again, really, getting back to this, last month it was reported that the Padres would be appointing John Seidler to take over as the club's new control person, but that was still pending league approval. And there are new developments in that story. A report has details of a lawsuit filed by Sheil Seidler, Peter's widow, to gain control of the team. I guess there was also mention that, there could even be a relocation of the Padres at some point. That was a little weird, right? Oh, yeah, we also got, did Chris Martin end up signing somewhere? Chris Martin? Did that end up happening? Chris Martin, I think, did he just sign with the Rangers? Okay, that's another story that came in right before we went live. Chris Martin, right? That was something that had been reported that he could be looking to go back to Texas. Chris Martin. I think it's a great get for the Rangers. They needed more in that bullpen. I like that. He's getting towards the end of his career, so I think that's a good fit overall. The Rangers really needed something there. So, but again, I'll read more about the Padres story. We'll talk about that. I'm sure you're going to see more of that unfold over the coming weeks. So, but everyone, I'm out of here. Go have yourself a good rest of your night. I'm going to go live at Fenway Faithful in just a little bit. So head on over there if you want to hear some Red Sox news. But everyone, thank you for joining tonight, and I'll talk to you next time.